The title of this mini podcast is Unwanted Help. The Grasshopper offered this helpful tip one day. Many people with major problems need the help they don't want. It's easy to recognize this in the world of abusers, to see the wisdom of this observation: drugs, alcohol, overconsumption, etc. What's not as apparent is the addiction to the idea that we don't need help in other problem areas of our life. Denial is the biggest demon I've encountered in this lifetime, personally and professionally. From my vantage point, denial that we aren't in need of help is a global pandemic. It makes COVID look like a case of the sniffles. Workable solutions are available for most of our problems, but if we don't acknowledge or recognize them, we don't want any help because, frankly, in our mind, we don't need it. One of the things I've developed over the years is a keen eye and ear for broadcast talent. I'm like the high school student of finance who picks an inordinate amount of winners and identifies a truckload of losers when doing mock stock picks. I have a verifiable feel for who's going to win and who's going to lose in broadcasting. This sense applies to up-and-coming stars as well as to those who are going to flame out. For example, on one TV network alone, as a casual viewer, I predicted 7 people who would go bust and 3 that would make it. That was over a period of about a year and a half. This sense I get comes from the perceived attitude I see in these performers that suggests they don't need help. Most of the ones who were fired had an air of "I've arrived" about them, but were in serious need of help to keep their new jobs. I can't imagine I'm the only person who suggested they needed help. They more than likely heard it countless times, but repeatedly ignored the counsel. Having coached broadcast talent for a living, I can tell you there's a category of performer who thinks they are God's gift to broadcasting, who have very few gifts. They believe they don't need help to improve because they didn't need improvement. Here's an old piece of wisdom that addresses the point from writer Saxon White Kessinger, called The Indispensable Man. She wrote, "Sometime when you're feeling important, sometime when your ego's in bloom, sometime when you take it for granted you're the best qualified in the room, sometime when you feel that your going would leave an unfillable hole, just follow these simple instructions and see how they humble your soul. Take a bucket of water and fill it with water. Put your hand in up to the wrist. Pull it out, and the hole that's remaining is a measure of how you'll be missed. You can splash all you wish when you enter. You may stir up the waters galore, but stop and you'll find that in no time it looks quite the same as before." The moral of this quaint example is do just the best that you can. Be proud of yourself, but remember, there's no indispensable man. My version of her poem was more succinct and less tactful. I would offer these indispensable talents this: if they can forget about Johnny Carson, they can forget about you. If you've heard it from a number of sources that you're that way, and they're suggesting that it's getting in your way, may I suggest taking one of those helping hands before your denial again has you pay. All the best, John.